On March 21, 1947, police in New York City received an anonymous call. The man on the line reported a foul odor coming from a handsome brownstone on Fifth Avenue house that neighbors had long viewed with a mix of suspicion and fear. When officers arrived, they found the doors locked and the windows blocked. There was no doorbell, no phone. They had to force their way inside. What they discovered would become the stuff of urban legend. The house wasn't just messy, it was consumed. Every single inch was packed solid with possessions, a dense jungle of junk piled straight to the ceiling. You couldn't walk, you had to climb and burrow. After 5 agonizing hours of digging, they found him. The body of 65-year-old Homer Collier, sitting in a chair, dead from starvation and heart failure. But his brother, Langley, was gone. A manhunt began, but the real mystery was still buried inside that house. The mansion of memories. To understand how a home turns into a tomb, you first have to understand the people who live there. Homer and Langley Collier weren't uneducated or poor. Far from it. They were the sons of a respected Manhattan gynecologist and a former opera singer, descended from one of New York's old, storied families. Both brothers attended Columbia University. Homer earned a degree in law, while Langley studied engineering. These were cultured, intelligent men, once part of high society. Their slow retreat from the world began in the early 20th century. After their parents died, the brothers lived alone in the family's 4-story brownstone in Harlem. As the neighborhood around them changed, their paranoia was fueled by the economic chaos of the Great Depression. Their withdrawal spiraled. They boarded up the windows. They cut off the gas, electricity, and phone, choosing to live by the weak light of a kerosene heater. Langley would only go out late at night to fetch water from a nearby park, and of course, to collect things. And collect he did. His nightly scavenging was driven by a strange, misguided sense of purpose. When Homer went blind, and later became paralyzed by rheumatism, Langley became his only caretaker. Deeply distrustful of doctors, Langley devised his own cures. He was convinced that a diet of 100 oranges a week, black bread, and peanut butter would restore his brother's sight. He began collecting massive stacks of newspapers, thousands upon thousands, so that Homer would have something to read the second his vision returned. The house filled up, becoming a labyrinth of tunnels carved through junk. Their hoard was, in part, a shield against a world they saw as hostile and unpredictable. To protect their treasure from perceived intruders, Langley rigged the corridors with elaborate booby traps. Over the years, the home swallowed more than 140 tons of collected items. Inside, police found the chassis of a Model T Ford, 14 pianos, thousands of books, jars of pickled human organs from their father's medical practice, and mountains upon mountains of garbage. They had built themselves a fortress, but the walls were closing in. Weeks passed as police searched for Langley, removing over 100 tons of debris, while crowds of onlookers gathered daily to watch the spectacle. Then, on April 8th, a workman made the final, horrifying discovery. Just 10 feet from where Homer had starved to death, they found Langley Collier. He had been crawling through one of his newspaper tunnels to bring food to his brother when one of his own booby traps collapsed, crushing him under a suitcase, bread boxes, and bundles of newspapers. The medical examiner determined he had been dead for weeks. The foul smell that brought the police to the house had been his. Homer, blind and paralyzed, was left alone in the darkness, slowly starving just feet from his dead brother, both of them victims of the very things they believed would save them. The ghost in the machine. Why we cling. The story of the Collier brothers is shocking, bizarre, and deeply tragic. But it's not just a story about two reclusive hoarders. It's a story about a deep, often invisible current that runs through all of us. Their mansion of memories is a terrifying, real-world example of a question we all have to face. Why do we hold on to things that no longer matter? A small piece of them lives in almost all of us. That pause you feel before throwing out an old concert ticket, the box of ancient cables in your closet, the clothes that don't fit anymore but hold a memory. These are the faint echoes of the same impulse. To understand it, we have to look past the piles of newspapers and into the architecture of our own minds. First, we hold on because of sentimental attachment. An object is rarely just an object. It's a container for a memory, a feeling, a person. That worn-out t-shirt isn't just cotton. It's the feeling of a first date. That chipped mug isn't just ceramic. It's a connection to a grandparent who is no longer here. On a gut level, letting go of the object can feel like erasing the memory or betraying the person tied to it. The object becomes a physical piece of our past, and getting rid of it feels like cutting away a part of ourselves. Then there's the persistent whisper of fear. Specifically, the fear of, what if I need this someday? And the fear of regret. This is the just-in-case logic that fills our junk drawers and garages. We keep old electronics, manuals for appliances we no longer own, and clothes for occasions that will likely never happen. This anxiety is often born from past experiences of scarcity or loss. We convince ourselves that by holding on to something, we're preparing for an uncertain future and protecting ourselves from the pain of needing something and not having it. Our things also give us a profound sense of comfort and security. Like a child's security blanket, our possessions can act as anchors in an unstable world, helping us self-soothe during times of stress. Think of the movie Cast Away, where Tom Hanks' character forms a deep, emotional bond with a volleyball he names Wilson. He doesn't do this because he's delusional. He does it because, in the total absence of human connection, he gives an object human traits to survive the crushing loneliness. We all do this in smaller ways, forming attachments to possessions that offer a stable, predictable presence in our lives. And finally, there's the quiet pressure of guilt. We hold on to expensive things we never use because we feel guilty about the money we wasted. We keep unwanted gifts because we don't want to hurt the giver's feelings. And we store inherited heirlooms that don't fit our lives or our style out of a sense of duty to our family. This isn't about loving the object. It's about the heavy emotional baggage that comes with it. The blueprint of accumulation. Our personal attachments are amplified and shaped by the world we live in. We are taught, in ways both obvious and subtle, to accumulate. Consumer culture constantly tells us that owning things is a path to happiness and a sign of success. We're encouraged to buy more, to upgrade, to collect. This external pressure makes letting go feel unnatural, almost like admitting defeat. This mindset was also forged in historical trauma. For the generations that lived through the Great Depression, scarcity wasn't a hypothetical fear. It was a daily, grinding reality. The habit of saving everything, of reusing and repurposing, became a critical survival skill. That waste not, want not philosophy was passed down, embedding itself in families long after the immediate danger of poverty had passed. It created a deep cultural anxiety around getting rid of things, where throwing something away felt like an irresponsible luxury. The push for empty space. In recent years, we've seen a significant cultural pushback against the burden of our stuff. Movements like minimalism and the global phenomenon of Marie Kondo's KonMari method reveal a collective hunger to reclaim our spaces and our lives from our possessions. After decades of being told that more is better, a new idea has taken hold, that less could actually be more fulfilling. The core of these movements isn't just about having a neat house. It's about being intentional. It's about consciously choosing what earns a place in your life. Kondo's famous question, "Does it spark joy?" completely reframes the process. Instead of focusing on the pain of what you're losing, it shifts your attention to the value of what you're keeping. This modern push for empty space is a direct response to the anxiety that clutter creates. It's an attempt to find peace and clarity by making our environment reflect who we are today, not just who we used to be. The ultimate tragic irony of the Collier brothers is that they were killed by their own protection. The fortress they built from their possessions became their prison and finally their tomb. Their story is the ultimate cautionary tale, a dark mirror reflecting the worst-case scenario of unchecked attachment. But the lesson isn't that we should own nothing. The goal isn't to live in a sterile, empty box stripped of memories and comfort. The goal is to understand why we own what we do. It's about being the curator of your own life, not just a custodian for forgotten things. It's about asking whether the objects we hold onto are serving us or suffocating us. Because our homes are meant to be spaces for living, not monuments to a past we can no longer inhabit. The challenge for all of us is to make sure our memories serve our lives and not the other way around. If this story made you stop and think, hit like so more people can find it. What do you think about the Collier brothers' story and the psychology behind why we hold on to things? What about you? What's the one thing you just can't let go of, and why? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to read them. And if you enjoy exploring stories that reveal something deeper about human nature, hit subscribe and join us for more. Thank you, and see you in other videos.